We have seen that with adoption threshold Q, dense clusters, in particular 1 minus Q dense clusters, are obstacle for adoption. No one in such dense clusters will want to be the first to adopt. Is this the only reason diffusion can ever stop? We're going to see that this is indeed the case. To see why, consider a diffusion of some innovation. Say everyone in the network's using some technology Y, and new technology X is spreading through the network. And let's say this spreading stopped, and some people adopted technology X, but others did not. And let S be the set of all the nodes who did not adopt the new technology. We claim that this set S of all the nodes who didn't adopt is a 1 minus Q dense cluster. To see why, consider a node A in this dense cluster, So A is not adopting. A has a bunch of friends outside of the set, and indeed all of those must already adopted. So if it's rational for A not to adopt, it must be then less than a Q fraction of his friends are outside the set. And that means more than 1 minus Q fraction of the sets are inside the set. And this is precisely the definition of a dense cluster. So we just established that every node in this set S who didn't adopt has more than 1 minus Q fraction of friends who didn't adopt, and therefore this is a dense cluster, just as we claimed. So we have studied a threshold-based diffusion of innovation. We saw that after a few initial adopters, it spreads, but such innovation has a hard time penetrating dense clusters. It's interesting to compare the diffusion of innovation with the diffusion of information in networks. Recall that information often comes from weak ties, comes from acquaintances that are not in the same tight social circles, and they come via what we call local bridges, edges that are not part of a tight cluster of friendships. In contrast, when we look at our example of how innovation spread, the innovation exactly stopped when it reached a weak tie. So looking at our network, in our example, network had a bunch of dense clusters, and innovation X reached one dense cluster, but then it stopped as it reached weak ties. Adoption is somehow very different than innovation. Then information is very different than innovation. While information comes from just one edge, we learn something just hearing it from one person. Deciding to adopt often needs either multiple examples or a stronger kind of trust. We often reserve adoption to the moment where we heard it from multiple friends, or at least we heard it from someone we truly, really trust, a very close friend.